So you are a doctor?
Board certified family practice. I've been doing this for about 30 years in private practice here in Southern California.
What were some of the opinions you had that differed from the mainstream narrative?
The lockdown that we're in the midst of, we're in Orange County now, and our governor here in California has basically shut down the state. The original narrative was we need to flatten the curve. And that made some sense when we had healthcare systems that were being overwhelmed in New York, in New Jersey, for a time in Seattle. So it made a lot of sense. If our healthcare systems were being overwhelmed, we want to keep people at home so we're not getting more cases because there's no more room at the inn, if you will. But now across the country, including here in Orange County in California, our healthcare systems have plenty of capacity. And the policies that are in place right now are injuring people. They're killing people. So, for example, we got a report up from Ontario, Canada, that 30 people while awaiting cardiac surgery died. They were waiting because their surgery was deemed non-essential. I have patients that need surgery, joint replacement surgery, for example, things that are causing them a lot of disability and pain, yet they're being told that they're not essential, so they need to continue to take their narcotics. They need to continue to have their joints be even more worn out and be in a lot of pain. And so the policies that we have in place right now are really harming people. Suicide rate is the highest we've seen it since the Great Depression. We have over 30 million Americans that have purposely been put on unemployment because of the economic shutdown. Drug abuse is high, spousal abuse, child abuse, domestic violence, mental health problems. Our own local sheriff, Don Barnes, has reported that our 911 system is being overwhelmed by domestic violence calls. So the policies initially were tolerable and they made sense logically. Quiet the cases down, our healthcare systems are being overwhelmed. But now we're creating government dependency like we've never seen before because of the unemployment. And that's the message that's not getting out. The message that is getting out is the mainstream narrative. The government is here to keep you safe. We know best from a government standpoint. Individual liberty, individual risk assessment, be damned. That we know what's right for you and you stay inside. Can't use the beaches, public parks are closed. And some of these things are quite arbitrary and capricious. So for example, here in California, we're told felons need to be let out of jail because they're being exposed to COVID virus. But at the same time, individual citizens are not allowed to exercise their Second Amendment right by going to a gun store to purchase a firearm because gun stores are closed down. Essential businesses are marijuana dispensaries. Essential businesses are liquor stores. Non-essential, if you want to go to church on a Sunday, you're not allowed to do that, even with social distancing. So we've got our priorities backwards, and some of these restrictions seem quite arbitrary. They don't make sense, and I think they're an overstep of our constitutional rights. I don't want to give motives to the politicians that are working hard, and I think they legitimately are trying to do what they think is in their best interest. But when some of these decisions are made and they appear quite arbitrary, you almost wonder if there's some political gain that is being looked at to be had, especially during an election year. I've heard a lot of politicians and media pundits say that this may be, President Trump's Katrina, if you will, that it almost feels like they're rooting for this virus to cause President Trump not to be reelected. And there's this political divide that is just completely unnecessary. Healthcare is not politics, and it shouldn't be about politics. It should be about what is in the best interest of the country, what is in the best interest of individuals, and balance that with our constitutional rights. And unfortunately, I just don't think that's being done.
And there are a lot of people who are grabbing onto this idea that if all this shutdown and everything saves just one life, then it'll be worth it.
Yes.
But what's the things that they're missing? What else is going on behind the scenes that we're not really aware of?
That's a great question. And I resonate with that. If we can only save one lives, better safe than sorry. As a matter of fact, I wrote a piece with that title, Better Safe Than Sorry, ? Was published in the American Thinker. And the issue is, we're not better safe than sorry, because the sorry part is happening right now. So the sorry part is 30 million plus people that are unemployed and now dependent upon government. The sorry part now is the highest suicide rate that we've seen. So we may save one person who doesn't get coronavirus, but the other person who now is depressed and can't feed their family, can't pay the rent, and literally is committing suicide, that's a problem. Delayed surgeries, we don't even know the consequences of that. So we have people that are dying because of delayed surgery, that are being permanently affected, their condition, because their surgeries have been delayed now 1 month, 2 months, sometimes longer, and worse. Not to mention one case of child abuse because of the quarantine or domestic violence, one case. That's a case that's going to live with that person the rest of their lives. And so it shouldn't be taken lightly. Well, I don't want to die of coronavirus, so let's just stay quarantined. You can always fix an economic problem, but a death from coronavirus you can never fix. I get that narrative, but at some point we need to realize that the continued lockdown is going to have consequences beyond what we could ever imagine. I mean, this is Great Depression level unemployment, and we turn the switch back on to turn the economy. A lot of these unemployed people are not going back to work because their jobs no longer exist. Small businesses, restaurants, even large businesses. I heard Neiman Marcus is finally shuttering up. They are going out of business because they were on the brink, and this just put them over the edge. And there's other businesses like that. So these are thousands and thousands of workers that are not going to have jobs to come back to. So it's not just a temporary unemployment. We're creating a permanent, or at least long-lasting unemployment class. Here's my belief. Listen. We have rules in this country. We have a constitution that is supposed to restrain the government and provide maximum liberty. I believe in people more than I believe in the government, and I believe in individual liberty and risk assessment. So I want to give each individual their own opportunity to make a decision as to what's best for their life with information. And if they choose that they want to open up their business with proper precautions, and keeping the highest at risk safe, then I think we should allow that to happen, especially if we're in a situation where our healthcare systems are not being overwhelmed. And that's the way it is across the country. We were told we're going to flatten the curve to let our healthcare systems quiet down, and then we'll open things up. It's been, I kind of lost track, 52 days now, 53 days, I can't remember. Enough is enough. Our liberties are being infringed upon. I get the idea of safety, but more important than safety is our individual rights and our individual liberty. And that's being stepped on right now, and that's where I have the problem.